Brother Criner, let me just say for the record, thank you for allowing us to have this conversation. And we'd like to start off by giving you a chance to tell us a little bit about who is Calvin Criner and where did he kind of come from and how did he end up where we are now?
Well, Mr. McKinney, thank you for the opportunity to share in this interview. I was born in Stuttgart, here in Stuttgart, and lived here most of my life. Moved to Little Rock years ago for economic advantages, but continued to have this hometown affection, and I always planned to come back here to do something. So after I was able to get through the most working phase of my life, I guess I want to say, the opportunity presented itself to come back here to Holman, where we are today, and be a part of this community initiative. Holman was the black high school in the black community. It was a Rosenthal school from the early years. Our forefathers, parents, and grandparents put together a concerted effort to purchase this school to educate the black children's community, and we were fortunate enough to be in a position to continue this legacy, and that's where we are today, trying to continue to carry on the legacy here at Holman.
Tell us about some of the work of Holman CDC.
Holman CDC was formed in 1986 after we learned that after the consolidation effort of the district, Holman would be eliminated as part of the school structure. We came together as a collective group, those of us who went to school here at Holman, and decided to try to purchase the property, and we did so, and converted it into a community center. We incorporated it and turned it into the Holman Community Development Corporation, which is what it is now. We have a board of directors of 18 people. I am the president of the board of directors, and here at Holman we have several initiatives we've undertaken. We have a seniors program, we have youth initiatives, we have community-oriented programs such as food pantry, clothing, food feeding programs, I should say. Our primary goal is to maintain the legacy, one, and two is to make a difference in the quality of life overall for all the people that lives in the city and the surrounding areas of Stuttgart.
Now, this was a Rosenwald school. Have you found people, I guess they would be really elderly, who were around when the school first got started, or shortly thereafter?
Well, those folk are few at this point in time, but I have spoken with some folk. One of our former teachers, who was a librarian, Mrs. Marie Ferguson's parents were part of that initiative, and Mrs. Ferguson has shared with us information concerning that period of time, the gentleman and those folk of that time who put together this initiative to be a part of the purchasing of this property and to get that Rosenthal money. I understand, based on the information that we have, that the first African American that lived in Stuttgart donated from his worth, along with his fellow community leaders, up to $1,000 in 1924 to help purchase and construct this property, along with the help of the other citizens in the Rosenwald Foundation.
No, I guess many of the students who went to school here, like a lot of communities today, after high school, they went away to college, and in many instances didn't come back. But you still have contact with a lot of those folks. Absolutely.
Those who remain locally are diligently pledged to this commitment and work hard every day to see that this happens. Those who've gone nationally still respond and react to our requests for assistance. We collectively have undertaken this task and are responsible for it. Those of us who are locally are just primarily responsible for the day-to-day operations, but we do have national participation from all the students who are still alive and are associated with Holman.
In most communities nowadays, the word we hear is collaboration and partnership. And I assume that that's also been in play here. Tell us a little bit about your, I guess, your vision for the kind of collaborative effort you have you've undertaken, or what kind of partnerships have you developed that is helping you move along?
Well, Stuttgart has been very responsive to our needs. They being the city mayor and the government locally, have made commitments and assisted us in our projects. We have local commitments with the faith-based organizations. We have local community commitments with the civic organizations in the community. Partnerships with out of the city organizations, as well as developing our vision, our goal. Our goal is to have a full-fledged learning center here that will provide not only academic enhancement and enrichment for our children, but for our adults as well. We want to address holistically as a cluster effort the entire family structure. Thereby we feel we can certainly impact the quality of life, not only with our students and their parents, but all of the citizens in Stuttgart. It makes for a better life for everybody here.
You have a lot of people come back for events or special occasions?
Every 2 years we have the grand reunion, and everyone who can comes from wherever they are. It's a tremendous turnout, tremendous response, and always a lot of fun and camaraderie, because you can always remember when and those kinds of things that took place during those days. And we share in that in those moments, and share in all of the history of this institution that helped us all to grow and be what we are today.
Mm-hmm. Is somebody writing up much of this history? Is that a part of the plan?
Well, we have two individuals, a lady in Kansas City, which happens to be my classmate, and also we have locally one of our former teachers is here again, Mrs. Marie Ferguson is her name, who has, through their knowledge and experience, recorded a lot of what has transpired here in Stuttgart. My classmate is very diligent. She knows almost everybody's address and phone number that went to school here. And so she's really committed to that. She really is.
You are known as a person, I guess, that know a lot of people, not only in Stuttgart, but across the state. You are now doing a project with the College of Public Health. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, we were fortunate enough to be invited to participate by the College of Public Health as co-director of communication dissemination for a community-based participatory research project, which is a tremendous opportunity for us to work with UAMS to broaden the scope of understanding and also to broaden the awareness of public health through education, through other programs and projects that are being developed at the college under the leadership of Dr. Jim Brzezinski and others who work there. We're excited about this broad opportunity, and we hope to be able to impact not only the lives of local people, but people throughout. Because health disparities is one of the primary concerns of all in terms of need, cost, and also a healthier lifestyle.
You see that work come into play even here at Holman CDC?
Yes, I do, because we have a communications base here that works for a number of things. We have a good rapport with the local media. We have a good rapport with the University of Arkansas at Pine Bluff, where I partner in some community outreach programs. We have a broader base initiative on a statewide and to some extent a national level as far as New Jersey, where I'm working with the Eugenics Eugenics Corporation, which is a broadband communication e-learning company, which will give us the potential opportunity to disseminate information on a broad scale throughout the South and the Delta. We are targeting the Delta with UAPB because that's one of their goals, is to improve the quality of life across the Delta, and we're happy to be a part of that as well.
you use a lot of volunteers, a lot of local volunteers. If you had the opportunity to get volunteers to come from afar, what would you want them to be like? What would you want them to know or to consider in order to be most helpful to you here at Holman CDC?
Well, we would want them to have a general knowledge of the current situations that exist. I don't want to refer them to the situations as a problem, because we try not to define the problems. Anybody can do that. We're looking for solutions. To have an understanding of the culture itself, have a willingness to want to work in the environment to address those needs of most concern to the local citizens, because that's what our goal here at home is, to work with the local citizens based on their needs and disseminate information and understanding to them as we can to assist them to overcome these barriers that are most pressing to them.
The population in Stuttgart, I guess, is like a lot of Delta Town, is relatively young. You have a lot of kids, not kids, but citizens that would be 25 and under, all the way down to, 7, 8, 9. I assume that somebody is developing activities that they could be engaged in. Is that one of the focus of Holman CDC?
Absolutely. We are pleased to say that we are the leading initiative in this particular community for that purpose in which you mentioned. Notwithstanding the work that the school district does, but it also becomes a community responsibility to address the needs of the young people, and Holman stands in the limelight as far as that is concerned. We have here after-school tutorial programs, physical activity, lifestyle development, behavioral development. We are looking to in the future offer benefits to the parents so that we can cluster this effort to where we can all work together to impact the children's development. So that's Holman's primary goal, is to be that institution that's here for our young people.
And then you mentioned you have something for the parents as well. What advice would you give a project in another town trying to develop some? What advice would you give them in terms of engaging the parents in the process?
Well, the first thing you have to, in my opinion, do is to educate the parents to the importance of their participation. Their children, and what we like to say here at home is we don't particularly ask you to develop or address any needs beyond your child. If we collectively all have the same base understanding about working with our young people, and each parent or guardian works with his or her child, and we have a central thought, then that goes to the concept of the village raising a child. It doesn't mean a lot of people doing it. It means a lot of ideas working the same for everybody that's engaged in this process. So in order to bring the children into a successful mode, we have to get the parents to have the understanding and have the desire to give of themselves and participate in this process as well.
One last question. If you were going to ask the College of Public Health to be helpful for you, how can they be most helpful to you in achieving the goals of the CDC here?
Well, one thing I know that the College of Public Health can do is to help address these disparities, not only in definition, but in practical, physical application. There has been in the past a great deal of mistrust based on, quote, outside participation, unquote, in the needs of these communities. People are looking for some solid results. It doesn't always have to be financial. It could be educationally, to bring a substantive response to the table for the needs of the people in that particular area of work in which they choose to participate in.
I appreciate the opportunity to have this conversation with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're good. How about